Howdy doody, my name is Cameron, better known as Venus Theory, and in this video I'm here to show you around the new Synth Anthology 5 from my friends at UVI. Synth Anthology is one of the most beloved series from UVI, covering effectively the entire spectrum of synthesis, from vintage analog icons, to modern sonic powerhouses, to boutique gear with eye-watering price tags, and beyond, allowing you to explore and combine them freely in the intuitive user interface however you see fit. With hundreds of synths to explore, thousands of presets, and the dual-layer engine with built-in effects, dual arpeggiators, and more, Synth Anthology is the definitive edition of the broadest collection of hardware UVI has ever assembled. Version 5 brings Synth Anthology's total to 300 synthesizers and over 6,000 presets by adding 100 new synths, over 1,000 new sounds and layers, 2 new filter types, a dedicated analog drift control, a new polyphonic sequencer mode, and 300 new creative presets. Synth Anthology 5 uses the same updated interface as in version 4, so just to briefly walk you through the basics, let's take a look at the controls. On the main tab, we have the 2 layers here, which are independently defined from any of the available synth sources, which you can find in the menu. If you find a sound that you like, let's say this second layer here, and you want to find some other options for a layer, you can use the intelligent sound browser along the bottom of a source to find similar sounds. Right now, we have this, and let's check out a couple of the suggestions. And of course, if you want to go back to the original sound, you can do so here at any time. Along the bottom of the window, you'll find the effects macros here for things like analog drift, tone shaping, distortion, phase effects, the granular cloud effect, and feedback, any of which can be dialed in by clicking and dragging the respective icon. Each source can be further adjusted in its respective edit tab, with each having independent multi-mode filters, pitch and unison settings, and the individual layer effects accessible with the FX flag here to the right side of the interface, where you can toggle each effect as well as send each of the layers individually to the master send effects. The sequencer tab has the 2 independent sequencers, with A and B affecting their respective layers, and you can link both layers together to sequencer A with the dual button here. Over in the Effects tab, you'll find the Master Send effects, as well as the 3 bus effects for the Drive, EQ, and Maximizer. Finally, if you click the Settings wheel in the upper right here, you can access the MPE controls, as well as the polyphony and pitch bend settings. That's really it for the interface. It's nice and easy to use, and with that, let's move on and start checking out what's new. Synth Anthology 5 brings 100 new synth sources to the table, ranging from vintage analog hardware to some overlooked gems from the 90s and 2000s, as well as some of today's most boutique and powerful hardware units. And funny enough, some of my favorite gear that's actually here in my studio right now is included as part of Synth Anthology 5, with things like the Polybrute 12, the Summit, the Iridium, the Malevolent, the MS-2000, and even the Osmos, which I'm using to control everything here right now. And I will say, I think the team did a really good job sampling these. It sounds just like my synths right here, so I guess that passes the mustache test. Of course, there are also some unicorn synths added in the collection here, like the ARP Chroma, the Apollo Prototype, which I had literally never heard of until researching for this script, the Jupiter 6, and even the mighty Yamaha DX1. There's also some great underrated gems in here rounding out the collection, like the OPXY, the Motor Synth, the Mantis, and even the XV5080, which I actually just tried to buy a couple of months ago but couldn't get my hands on one, so I settled for the 3080 instead. If you want to check out the individual synths and some of the patches that were sampled from them, you can do this at any time in the preset browser by going down to the Machines category, and you'll see everything inside of Synth Anthology 5 listed there. One of the bigger updates inside of Synth Anthology 5 is actually under the hood, and that's 2 brand new filter types inside the collection, with the ladder filter and the VCF 4023. Both of these have been precisely modeled to give you the same classic flavor of these 2 filter designs to bring many of the most iconic sounds alive inside of the Synth Anthology 5 library. So if you want to check these out inside of any patch within Synth Anthology 5, by going over to one of the layer editors and going into the filter, you can select either the ladder or VCF 4023 models here. Just so you can quickly hear what each of these new filter models sounds like, I've loaded up an initialized preset here with a saw wave, and we're just going to check both of these new filters out with a quick filter sweep test. Here we've got the ladder filter just without any resonance being applied, and we can start increasing the Q to about halfway, and squeeze it up all the way. You can also adjust the voltage reference here, which affects the overall character of the filter. So just to give you an idea of what that's doing, let's just A/B it really quickly at both extremes. Here we have it all the way to the left with the Q at about 80%. And let's move it all the way to the right. So it's definitely got the classic warm ladder filter sound and the big bottom end with it, and if you get into more resonant parts, it gets that really peaky resonant filter sweep that ducks out the low end from the signal. So let's check out the other model here and swap things over to the VCF 4023. The 4023 filter is much more aggressive in the character of the resonance compared to the ladder filter. If we start off with just a quick sweep here, you can hear that as we increase the resonance to around halfway, we're already in a similar territory as nearly maxing out the filter resonance on the ladder model. And as we go beyond this, and go all the way up to the extreme, you get something that's much more aggressive while still retaining more of the low end of the sound. Rather than having a voltage reference control, this design features a high-pass filter, which is handy to rein in the bass for your patches with the beast of the filter that is the 4023. So right now we get the full low end. We can maybe clean that up a bit, or effectively turn it into almost a bandpass type filter. Personally, one trick I really like to explore with this filter is increasing the resonance of it using something like the mod wheel, and we can do that here by assigning modulation with the modulation icon within the interface here. So you can see I've set this up to 100%. Now, I'll increase this all the way and just find an interesting point in the filter. Something like right about there, I think sounds cool. Then we can shape the sound with the ADSR. I think something like that sounds nice. We'll move into the effects and start sending it into the delay and the reverbs. Then maybe we could bring in some gentle chorus and mix it pretty low and throw just a pinch of it into the feedback here. So as I play something and start increasing the mod wheel, you can play the filter in a really interesting way that I think adds some fun textures and layers to sprinkle in underneath your track, or move this into a higher cutoff point and just get a really aggressive lead sound that tends to break up and distort in a really interesting way after you push it past a certain threshold. If there's one thing we all loathe and love about analog hardware, it's the imperfections. And for better, and sometimes worse, the nature of the beast of analog is that everything is always just a little bit broken. Synth Anthology 5 adds a new analog drift macro that introduces the subtle instability of analog into the sound and the engine. So when it's off, as it is right now, everything sounds more or less as it should. And that's fine, but maybe you want something with a little more character to it. As we enable this, we can start to introduce some of the subtle modulation that gives analog hardware that bit of magic sauce. So here at a relatively low value, if I play that same chord, you can hear it starts to move around a little bit more. As we increase it though, we can push it up to the point of a synth that's maybe in need of some service, or go way beyond into something that is just about at the point of being broken. But the nice part about this, compared to real analog hardware, is if you don't want that, you can just drag this control down to a point that you like, or disable it entirely, instead of having to go online and figure out whatever your spare kidney is going for on the marketplace these days to get your actual synths repaired. Just like its predecessor, Synth Anthology 5 is fully MPE compatible, and any preset can instantly be turned into an MPE preset by just enabling it within the settings. So in the interface, in the upper right, we can hit the settings, then enable MPE here. Now I can just flick my controller over into MPE mode and we're ready to go. With that now assigned, if I play something with MPE stuff involved, you can see super easy to get involved with MPE inside of Synth Anthology 5, which is always appreciated. One really fun new update inside of Synth Anthology 5 is the polyphonic sequencer mode. I've got one of the presets up here and we can move over to the sequencer to see what's happening. So you can see we have both layers being affected by a polyphonic sequencer here. For the sake of demoing this a little more clearly, I'm actually going to go back to the main tab and just disable layer B, and we'll disable its arpeggiator. So we're only really dealing with layer A here. If I press a single note, it functions more or less like any other type of sequencer, and if I play multiple notes like a minor chord, same thing happens. But what I think is really cool about this is two things. One, it's truly polyphonic. So if I play those 3 notes, but space them out as to when I press them on the keyboard, you'll hear that each of those notes is running through this sequence polyphonically. And we can also enable the random start feature here, which will randomly offset the playhead of each of those polyphonic notes going through the sequencer. So again, if I play a note and another note and another note in a chord, just kind of spacing it out randomly, I think that's really cool. And I think the magic of this comes in when you do something like that, creating these cool phase music looping type textures. Let's just play something with a little bit more of a interesting voicing. Of course, you could expand upon this in a number of ways with the UVI arpeggiator, with all the different features of it, like the velocity, the octaves, the linking, the repeats, the gate, the panning, all that cool stuff, and create these really fun sort of ambient sonic synth tapestries that have that just beautiful pointillistic texture to them that layer under things so nicely. And I'm now realizing how truly insufferable I sound sometimes, but that's just the way it goes, you know? And that's the broad strokes of what's new inside of Synth Anthology 5. But in addition to 1,000 new synth sound sources and presets, the team at UVI have also created 300 new dual-layer presets for version 5 here, which is a great way to get a sense of what's really new in this update. So why don't we check out a couple of those and just give the whole thing a listen. Synth Anthology 5 is available now, either as a standalone product or as part of UVI's Sonic Pass. And if you want to check it out for yourself or learn more about it, you can do so with the links down in the description below. And that's it for this one. So thank you for watching. Thanks to UVI for having me on the channel as always. And of course, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And as always, I hope this inspires you to get out there and make something awesome.